Friday, the 21st of August. I'm Angela Lagunzad-Castro.
And I'm Cesca Litton-Kalaw. We are bringing you the perfect mix of the headlines you need and the conversations that shape your day.
From the news desk to the digital space, we have got you covered. I'm Pauline Verzosa, and welcome to Morning Matters.
Now, first in the news, former House Speaker Martin Romualdez has filed a supplemental counter affidavit before the Ombudsman, including Orly Gutes's recantation. Romualdez's counsel said at least 25 former staff members of Zaldico have denied delivering flood control kickbacks to Romualdez or any politician. Some also claimed they were paid to sign statements prepared by lawyer Levy Baligod. Fajardo denied that Romualdez's camp had any role in Gutes's recantation.
Makikita po dito, pinasisinungalingan nitong malalapit na associates of former Congressman Zaldico, his family, and his corporation, SunWest, na may nangyaring ganyan. So, kung itotal mo yun, yung mga affidavit, including that of, as we all know, Gutesa, that's a total of more than 30 statements saying na walang ganyang nangyayari. Sa ebidensya po, no, hindi po pwede yung haka-haka, maaring nangyaring ganito, or marahil, or posible, or walang duda. Yung mga ganyang statements po hindi po papasa sa pag-evaluate ng hudikatura.
The Ombudsman, however, said its case does not depend on Gutesa alone. According to the anti-graft body, it has 28 other witnesses, all active uniformed personnel who can provide direct and material information on the transactions under investigation. So again, these 28 witnesses are active uniformed personnel who are now undergoing legal processes para nga makatulong daw supposedly dun sa case that is filed by the Ombudsman. And of course, the question here lies, ano yung significance or ano yung effect nung recantation ni Gutesa doon sa case ng Ombudsman against this former speaker. Pero yun nga, sinasabi naman ng Ombudsman, recantation is not, it's not foreign anymore, it's highly, parang it's normal, specifically daw kapag may mga high-profile cases. And then, we have to remember, Ombudsman tagged former House Speaker Martin Romualdez as the central figure dito sa flood control scheme. So ngayon, aside from the, of course, mga statements sa mga witnesses, we want to see yung trail of evidence, yung money trail, di ba, yung mga documentary evidence, yung gusto sana natin makita bukod doon sa mga statements. Because sabi nga nung lawyer ni former House Speaker Martin Romualdez, usually yung mga oral testimonies yan hindi naman talaga, kumbaga sabi niya, unreliable naman yon. And yun, so ang alam natin before na sinasabi nila itong si Gutesa missing link, di ba sinabi dun sa Blue Ribbon Committee hearing nila Senator Rodante Marcoleta, ito daw yung missing link dun to pin down talaga si former Speaker Martin Romualdez.
So let's also take a look at the personalities, diba? Outside of former Speaker Martin Romualdez, Zaldico. So Gutesa named Senator Rodante Marcoleta and former Congressman Mike Defensor. As of last night, as of yesterday afternoon, parang wala pa yatang word from Senator Marcoleta's camp. Former Congressman Mike Defensor's lawyer, si Attorney Ferdinand Topacio, said na it's part of the harassment and intimidation pattern under the present administration. Now, he said na it comes as no surprise because as early as November daw, they got word that Gutesa was being forced to recant. But outside of that also, with Attorney Rowena, former COMELEC Chair Rowena Guanzon, lakas din ang statement niya eh. May maniniwala ba sa'yo na mag-aabogado ako para sa'yo? But in hindsight also, Attorney Guanzon filed a case against Attorney Topacio back in 2022. Basta may long history with the personalities involved, including the lawyers.
Exactly. But you know what I found interesting, because Attorney Topacio guested last night on the Big Story, right? He was talking to our colleague, Sir Ed Lingao, and there he was saying na itong recantation daw, parang sinabi niya the administration is behind it, not just former Speaker Martin Romualdez. And that was interesting for me because they're saying na sila sa opposition, they don't have naman the
Machinery,
money, the funds to bribe and force Gutesa to recant. It's actually the administration that has all the maletas, the money. But remember nung SONA, sinabi rin naman ni President Bongbong Marcos na his own cousin, the former Speaker, Martin Romualdez, will be facing cases already. So, hindi ko alam na ano ba to, is there already, are lines getting blurred already that is the administration trying to protect now the former Speaker? I don't know why Attorney Topacio mentioned the word administration. So we'll see. But on the part of the Ombudsman, they said their cases will continue, right? They already have 28 witnesses right now, other witnesses, uniformed personnel. We're not sure about their identities just yet, and maybe that's also better para hindi na rin malaman yung mga identity nila and hindi sila mahabol, hindi sila mabribe, and they won't be also forced to recant their statements if that's what happened, no? But as far as itong si Senator Marcoleta and former Congressman Mike Defensor are concerned, they haven't issued any statements yet. We tried reaching out to them, but as we know, they are currently detained. So,
Parang no
mahirap
comment
kumuha.
daw doon sa camp ni Senator Marcoleta. And as for Atty. Topacio, I remember him talaga lagi niya sinasabi, lagi yung pinipin down lagi. Ang behind of all of this is administration. Lagi niya sinasabi talaga yan. But going back dun sa statement nga ni Gutesa, if you can remember, di ba, nawala siya after niya nung that first
Blue
time
Ribbon,
that he appeared in
Yeah.
Blue Ribbon, and sabi ni Senator Lacson na hindi na siya nasa-surprise na mag-recant ito. That umpisa pa lang duda na siya dito kay Gutesa. Pero there was a time na, if you can remember, during a protesta coverage sa News 5 noon, ang guest namin si Maluti Kia and Cesca Castro. Dito pa nga sila nag-init because, nagkainitan rather, kasi hinahanap nila si Gutesa. So nagtuturoan sila, bakit? Nasaan si Gutesa? Diba? Tapos parang sinasabi ni Yusek, bakit mo ako tinatanong? Ako ba nagtago niyan? Pwede rin yung sabihin na, okay, ito, kasi behind daw yung administration. So yung may mga ganong mga usapin. Pero, of course, yung sinasabi ni Gutesa na nag-meet sila
In a
before sa
restaurant, Japanese
before sa
restaurant
Senate
near the
Blue
Senate.
Ribbon Committee. Tignan nila yung restaurant. Kung may
Yeah.
CCTV doon, tignan nila kung talagang nag-meet doon prior to the Blue Ribbon Committee. Because Senator Lacson also, sinabi niya na 30 minutes prior magsimula yung Blue Ribbon Committee, nakita sa CCTV na galing
Sa office
ni Senator Marcoleta itong si Gutesa for half an hour.
Actually, Attorney Topacio said na they don't deny naman that they met in a restaurant. That doesn't really prove anything because on the part daw of sila Senator Marcoleta, kailangan daw nila i-check din yung magiging testimony. But then, hindi na natin. So, kung may CCTV, okay, so nakita sila. But we don't know what they discussed.
The
Kailan kasi-
actual contents of the meeting.
Oo,
no?
pero makikita mo from an ordinary perspective ng tao na, okay,
Kino-coach
nag-meeting
ba?
kayo, tapos during the meeting, di ba, meron kang
Yeah.
binabasa, tapos sinabi ni Senator Marcoleta, no, stick to the, to the paper.
Yun yung sinasabi nila na parang
Bakit
kino-coach
may
during
ganon?
the hearing itself na parang, masyado mong minamadali. Balikan mo yung paragraph ganito, huwag ka na mag-adlib, ganyan. So, you can understand why people are thinking, bakit parang kino-coach yung witness?
There's a lot of he said, she said right now. At hindi natin alam, parang mas lalo tayong nalilito. Ano? But
Yes.
hopefully, we just get to the bottom of this. We get to the truth.
Yes.
All right, now in other news, former Congressman Mikey Romero has relinquished from the Armed Forces of the Philippines Reserve Force. Romero retired his post as Wing Commander of the Tactical Operations Wing Reserve Northern Luzon, effective August 19. In a statement, he thanked the AFP leadership and the uniformed personnel he served with. Romero maintained that all his medals, decorations, badges, and distinctions were properly awarded and are reflected in official AFP records. Now, this comes amid controversy over Romero's medals, including a Gold Cross medal. Right, so apparently the Gold Cross Medal is the third highest award for military combat. So
Yeah.
emphasis on
So
combat.
combat.
Okay, you need combat experience in the field, on the ground. And they say it's highly unusual for a reserve officer
Yeah.
to have this award, no? That's why a lot of retired military officials are questioning why Mikey Romero was given this award considering na he's a reservist for the Philippine Air Force, diba? So, lumipad ba siya ng mga eroplano? We don't know, right? But on the part of Mikey Romero, he said hindi naman daw Gold Cross yung suot niya. It was the Gawad sa Kapayapaan Award. But it's si Sir Ed Linggao din, di ba? Alam mo, maalam talaga siya dito
Yes.
sa ating military. And he said, hindi kitang-kita eh.
Oo.
It had a blue background and 3 stripes.
Yeah.
And that's different
Kita ko yan.
Yeah.
from the Gawad sa Kapayapaan badge that has
Yeah.
1 stripe lang ata.
So the difference nga between the Gold Cross and the Gawad sa Kapayapaan, the Gold Cross medyo blurry
Yan,
siya,
oo.
no? But anyway,
Meron ako dito, ito.
Ayan, Angela
Kasi I
has it.
kind of follow the story because
Yeah.
nga nagkaroon ng explanation
Yes.
si Bok Ed, di ba?
So-
ayan, ito yung pinapakita nila yung picture.
Yan.
Kita
So
ba?
that's the okay. So
Ayan.
Gold Cross is a gold Maltese cross
Ito
with a
yan.
left-facing profile of President Manuel L.
Yes.
Quezon. And then in the back, it literally says for gallantry in action.
Okay.
And then may blank space doon for the name of the recipient of the
Yes.
award.
So-
and then the service ribbon is cornflower blue with three thin
Lines.
white stripes.
Oo.
Yung
So,
gawad sa
oo.
kapayapaan na sinasabi niya,
Dalawa
it's-
lang. Ay, isa
ano
lang,
siya?
isa
No,
lang.
It's
Ito.
one white stripe yata
Ito
siya.
yan.
Okay.
So, ito,
Ang dami kasi.
Oo, yan, kasi sinasabi niya, di ba, parang, hindi, napagkakamalan nyo lang na gold cross medal yan, pero hindi. Pero yun nga, dahil dinifferentiate ni Sir Ed, nakita natin. So, ito yung gold cross, may tatlo. Ito yung, para mas malinaw, di ba? Ito yung gawad sa kapayapaan. So, tinignan yung picture, ito yung gawad sa kapayapaan, ito yung gold cross. So, both meron. So, ang tanong din dito kasi, okay, so kapag nag-retire ka, tapos na ba dapat yung usapin?
Yeah,
Diba? So, it has to be investigated. Of course, yung guidelines ng AFP, bakit ganito yung mga pagbibigay sa mga reservists. And according sa military law, they're saying na as a reservist, hindi ka pwedeng mag-retire. Kasi sa military law, 20 years of service, siya parang 4 years pa naman. So, at saka, ibig sabihin na kung nag-retire ka, hindi dapat hindi pag-usapan yon. Kasi saan ba nagkulang? Meron ba ditong mga may corruption ba dito? Di ba? Hindi natin, yun yung mga allegation pa lang. That's why, importante malaman natin, i-review niyo yung guidelines. Kasi baka mamaya may abuse of power
Yes.
pala dito. Di ba? At kailangan ma-address yun.
And there are more deserving people
Yeah, oo.
who should receive that medal.
Si former Magdalo Representative Gary Alejano said, no, even an active officer, it's unusual or mahirap
Yeah.
ma-awardan itong Gold
Yeah.
Cross.
Mas marami pa siyang award dun sa AFP.
Sabi
Jack.
nga nila, actually, kaya napansin nila na parang unusual to kasi ang dami talaga.
Yeah.
Okay lang daw kung 1/3 lang daw ng uniform, yung maraming medals, but ang dami kasi. So it begs the question, diba, are we giving this to political patrons because of their
Yeah.
influence, their financial donations?
May mga donation,
sa AFP?
ganyan.
Sa tingin ko, pwede naman magbigay ng plaque of
Civilian.
appreciation, diba?
Civilian awards.
Yes.
Yeah. Dun sa kasi, kaya napansin din yan kasi may mga photos din siya dun sa isang magazine. Tapos yung magazine na yon, parang naglabas din sila ng mga parang statements na sinasabi beyond the medals, na parang ginagawa niya to, nagtutulong, etc. blah blah blah. But that's besides the point, di ba? Ang usapan natin dito, paano nabibigyan siya ng medal? Ano yung mga guidelines kung bakit kinonsider siya mabigyan ng mga ganong klaseng medal na in reality sa mga nasa militar talaga, you have to have years of experience. Tapos yung ikaw ba yung gold cross medal daw, yung
Gold
talagang
cross.
ikaw yung gumagapang doon
sa
sa
putik.
mud, etc. Kaya ang tanong dito, medyo bumababa nga daw yung moral nung iba.
Yeah.
Then it's so hard to get that.
Demoralizing.
Oo.
First of all, may dapat number of years in service.
Yes.
May, yun na nga, combat action. And, you know, there are people, like, our military talaga, like,
Hindi naman to decoration
deserve-
lang na parang
they
ganitong
deserve so much
1
more.
year's badge, di ba? Na ikakabit mo na lang. This carries a lot of prestige, honor. So hopefully we revisit this because it's also not the first time pala. There are also other congressmen who have different
Decorations.
awards and decorations in their uniforms.
basta-basta na lang sinasalpak na, okay,
Pati
this
yung
looks good.
yung family ni Mikey Romero, meron din silang na-feature dun sa magazine. Yung wife niya nasa gitna, walang if I can remember it correctly, wala namang nakalagay na pin, pero naka-uniform sila, mga reservists. Yung 2 daughters niya, marami ding mga awards. You have to take a look at that.
Okay. All right. So obviously we have a lot of opinions on this matter, no? But we're gonna move on. because we don't have much time. Malacanang has identified 39 possible sites for rain detention structures across Metro Manila. These include large underground cisterns and open spaces that can temporarily store rainwater during heavy downpours. Among the possible sites are Malabon People's Park, the Chino Roses Avenue underpass in Makati, Baseco Lagoon, and Rizal Memorial Baseball Stadium in Manila. The list also includes areas in Mandaluyong, Marikina, Muntinlupa, and Navotas, including the Marikina River floodplains and the Navotas Coastal Dike. Other possible locations include the CCP complex in Pasay, Rizal High School in Pasig, and Camp Aguinaldo and Damar Village Park in Quezon City. UP Sunken Garden is also on the list, along with sites in San Juan, Taguig, and Valenzuela. The sites were identified with the help of Dutch engineering firm Haskoning. Detailed engineering plans are expected to be completed by the end of August, with President Marcos targeting the projects to be operational before next year's rainy season. So if we're going to seek advice on how to manage water and floods, the Dutch are an excellent, they're excellent resource people when it comes to this, because 1/3 of the Netherlands sits below sea level. So to them, water management and flood control is a matter of survival.
Okay.
So this is considered in everything that they build, everything that they do. But obviously, over here with Metro Manila alone, it's so congested. There are so many challenges that are posed to, catch basins being an afterthought
Yeah.
in urban planning. So what do we need to deal with now? So there's already existing underground infrastructure. We don't know kung ano yung nandun na
Yeah.
ihuhukay, kung may mga pipes na or
Yep.
whatever. And then, of course, again, Metro Manila is so dense, the population alone. So yung traffic
It's gonna cost
na madudulot from the construction, not to mention the trash problem that we have. There are so many factors that need to be considered, but also hopefully we get this done before.
Yeah.
Is it possible to get this done before the next monsoon season? I don't know.
Well, I don't remember kung naalala nyo yung nabanggit ko to nung Monday, pinag-uusapan natin na before pa pala, 1989, diba, there's a law that was signed by former President Cory Aquino mandating community level na magkaroon ng mga catch basins, catch water basins. And ginagawa yun sa BGC, nabanggit mo nga the other day, diba? So, kumbaga parang sinasabi ko, we have so many laws and we don't really don't know how to implement it. Can you imagine, 1989 meron ng ganun mandato na kailangan itong mga barangay magkaroon ng mga catch water basin. Tapos pero tayo, parang ngayon pa lang natin pinag-uusapan ulit. And then makikita mo sa social media when President Bongbong Marcos said na we need to catch the rain, diba, para magamit in the future. Ang ginagawa ng mga tao, niliteral. Ewan kung nakita nyo sa social media, yung kumukuha sila ng mga supot, sinalagay sa supot yung mga plastics, store daw. Kung parang kasi nagkakaroon ng mga pagkukutsa. I mean, not for anything, diba? Ako naman, ang intindi ko dito sa sinasabi ni President Bongbong Marcos is yung catch basin. Kasi there are private companies have already been doing it. Mga hotels, mga malls, diba? They catch the rainwater, they reuse it, they release it safely. So yun po yung ibig sabihin nun. Kasi we have so many water dahil sa flood. Tapos pagdating ng tagtuyot, wala tayong tubig. So yun lang naman yun. Yung parang to be able to mitigate the flood also, we need to catch the water as well.
Not to be a pessimist, pero kasi lagi tayong reactive right? I'm also wondering, bakit ngayon lang natin naisip to? And why are we doing this just now? Kung kailan typhoon season, right? Maybe we should have done this during the summer nung sobrang init, diba? Walang kaulan-ulan, pero ngayon lang natin gagawin. So I think we should just take this and accept it kasi kahit papaano solution din naman siya. No? But hopefully also this won't be substandard. Diyos ko, diba? Parang baka naman huhukay sila, pero ganito lang kababa. Hindi
diba?
i-full yung hukay, maging substandard din itong mga catchments. So This is, as they said, this is just a part of the bigger integrated solution to our flood problem. So hopefully, this will sort of alleviate the problems we face when it comes to floodwaters.
At saka dapat magkaroon ng magandang turnover sa susunod na administration.
administration.
I don't think President
Continuity.
Bongbong Marcos will be able to finish this in his term. 'Di ba? Kasi ngayon pa lang magsisimula. Kasi ang nangyari doon kay President Noynoy Aquino, yung kanilang master plan, na flood master plan, na itinurn over doon sa DPWH na hindi naman daw na natanggap ng mga naging secretary ng DPWH.
Baka hanggang plano na lang tayo.
Yun na tayo. Oh.
Plano na, gusto niyo pa to pa rin.
Alright. Don't go away. Morning Matters will be back after a short break.
Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. Mike Defensor's legal counsel, Attorney Ferdinand Topacio, questioned the credibility of Orly Guteza's recantation. In an interview with The Big Story, Topacio said the recantation came as no surprise, claiming they had received reports of pressure and intimidation against Guteza as early as November 2025. Topacio said the conflicting statements should be assessed based on the surrounding circumstances, including Guteza's disappearance after his testimony and reported harassment of his family. He maintained that Defensor and Senator Rodante Marcoleta have nothing to gain from Guteza's recantation except to expose what they believe are irregularities involving flood control projects.
With respect to the present issue, I would say that this came as no surprise because as early as November 19 of last year, we had already gotten information that Guteza, who suddenly disappeared after his bombastic testimony before the Blue Ribbon Committee, was being forced or had been already forced to recant his testimony. It all boils down to what does Guteza have to gain, what does Mr. Romualdez have to gain from the recantation, and what do Senator Marcoleta and Representative Defensor have to gain, except for the national interest in exposing an anomaly or corruption in government. We can see that there is a pattern on the part of the administration to intimidate and harass whistleblowers by imprisoning Senator Marcoleta and former Representative Mike Defensor, which has the effect of demoralizing the whistleblowers.
The war of words between the Philippine Defense Department and the Chinese embassy is escalating. Defense Secretary Gilbert Teodoro accused the embassy of shielding Chinese businessman Tony Yang and others linked to alleged illegal activities. The row stems from the May raid on Sanjia Steel Corporation in Misamis Oriental, where around 70 undocumented Chinese nationals were arrested. The Chinese embassy has accused the Philippines of discrimination and mistreatment of Chinese workers, while the DND and PAOK insist the raid was a legitimate law enforcement operation. Meanwhile, the Cybercrime Investigation and Coordinating Center said it is pushing for stronger regulation of online platforms following the live-streamed Zamboanga shooting. CICC Executive Director Undersecretary Aboy Paraiso told One News' Storycon that the agency alerted Meta within 5 minutes of detecting the live stream, but the video was taken down about 7 to 9 minutes later. Paraiso said the process was partly affected by Meta's limited operations in the Philippines, with requests needing to go through its regional office in Singapore. He also said copies of the video continued to circulate because some were recordings of the original live stream and did not contain keywords that Meta's artificial intelligence system could detect.
Immediately after we had visibility, which is difficult to be honest, Ma'am Rachel, because our visibility really depends on virality. Kasi yung live stream na yan, it doesn't have any tags that we can input into our monitoring and detection system. So we only had visibility. So it took us time before we would have visibility. Tapos nireport ko kagad namin sa Meta. And this is the unfortunate event since there's still gaps and still the office of Meta here still isn't a proper branch office that has jurisdiction, that has some powers. Dinaan pa ho nila sa proper channels before the video was taken down po.
Na-take down naman, but how much more time lapsed?
Around, from what was reported to me, it was around 7 to 9 minutes pa po, Ma'am Reg.
7 to 9.
Yeah.
So matagal-tagal pa yon.
President Bongbong Marcos inspects Metro Manila's largest pumping station as the government pushes new flood control projects. Here's the report.
Days after relentless rains pounded Metro Manila, President Bongbong Marcos personally inspected the Tripa de Gallina pumping station in Pasay City. It is the largest of more than 70 pumping stations operated by the MMDA across Metro Manila. The president inspected the facility's trash rake, which removes garbage from the waterway. From there, the waste is moved onto a conveyor belt, then loaded onto dump trucks bound for a sanitary landfill. The president also checked the pump engine room to see if its capacity is enough to handle heavy rains. President Marcos says the volume of rainfall today is much higher than in the past.
Kailangan tignan natin kung sapat ang volume na kaya ng mga bomba natin para ilabas ang tubig. Okay naman, malakas naman yung mga bomba natin, umaandar naman silang lahat.
Still, the government is targeting to add 13 more pumping stations in Metro Manila and nearby areas, either by the end of this year or in the first part of 2027.
Siyempre, ang nakikita natin problema, number one, yung basura ulit. Kasi kaya yan ang tinignan natin.
The MMDA estimates that about half a dump truck of garbage is collected from the facility every day.
Humihigop po talaga siya ng iba't ibang klaseng basura. May nakakuha po kami ditong sofa, ref, TV, kama. Pwede na nga daw po mag-furnish ng bahay.
So far, the government has identified 39 potential sites for rainwater catchment structures across Metro Manila. These facilities would temporarily store rainwater during heavy downpours to help reduce flooding across the capital region.
Pag-asa continues to monitor several weather disturbances inside and outside the Philippine area of responsibility. Severe tropical storm Sodel was last spotted 2,735 kilometers east of southeastern Luzon with maximum sustained winds of 95 kilometers per hour and gustiness of up to 115 kph. Two low-pressure areas are also being monitored outside the PAR with both a medium chance of developing into tropical depressions within the next 24 hours. Meanwhile, the southwest monsoon or habagat will continue to bring rains over parts of Luzon, including Metro Manila, Ilocos Norte, Ilocos Sur, Apayao, Abra, Batanes, and Cagayan.
Good morning mga kapatid. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. The week in politics was marked by fresh testimony, new questions over accountability, and sharp exchanges between some of the country's most prominent political figures. Vice President Sara Duterte's impeachment trial continued despite the heavy habagat rains, with her former special disbursing officer testifying as the prosecution's first hostile witness. First Lady Liza Araneta Marcos also faced criticism over her sabbatical post as floods hit parts of Metro Manila, while the palace defended her response. The ombudsman flagged Senator Lauren Legarda's extended leave as suspicious as her son, Congressman Leandro Leviste, sought a 2-month travel authority. Malacanang and Vice President Duterte also traded barbs over transparency in official travel. And retired Marine Orly Gutesa recanted his testimony in the flood control probe, accusing Senator Rodante Marcoleta and former Congressman Mike Defensor of being behind his earlier affidavit.
And now to help us make sense of the week's biggest political developments, we are now joined by political analyst Dennis Coronacion. Sir, it's a holiday, but thank you so much for joining us here in the studio.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Good morning, ladies.
Ako, marami po tayong pag-uusapan
Hihimayin.
today. It's been a very busy week, not just in terms of the weather, di ba? There have been suspensions, pero on the political front, ang dami ring nangyari. But let's start with the recantation of Orly Gutesa, yung supposed witness nga dito sa case ni former Speaker Martin Romualdez. What should we make of his credibility now that he has recanted his earlier statement?
Well, kahit sino yan, whether it's Gutesa or anyone else, if a witness recants his or her testimony and removes a person that he or she implicated before, ano na yan, doubtful. Oo. So, itong kanyang recantation definitely is going to cast doubts on his new testimony. Oo. And essentially, yung kanyang new testimony is that he's no longer implicating former Speaker Martin Romualdez in the flood control scandal. So I don't know if that's still believable.
Well, of course, we have seen several back and forths, kung sino ba yung dapat accountable dito sa flood control mess. And right now, we have yet to see a real case against the former speaker. And there are also people who are asking, where is Amena Pangandaman and Bersamin? Do you think there's an effort to conceal their possible involvement in this?
Well, mahirap ma-prove yan. It's hard to prove whether or not the administration has really made serious efforts to give or to enlighten, to show some kind of enlightenment dito sa issue na to. Pero ang masasabi natin is that I mean, it's easy for them. It's easy for the administration to invite these people since they were former employees of Malacanang. And siguro naman by now, even though hindi maganda yung ending nila, they still have communication. So, if it's really very important, if Malacanang is really very serious on this, then it should have invited already these people and encourage them to participate in the investigations. Pero magugulat ka, no? So many investigations have been done on the flood control scandal, and yet these people were never invited. Oo, even the former speaker. Kaya nga ang suspicion ng publiko is that baka nga may cover-up na nangyayari on the part of the administration. So, although it's very hard to say, kasi nga yung camp naman ni former Speaker Martin Romualdez is saying that the reason why he's not being summoned in the investigations is because there is no document that can link him to this flood control scandal. So mahirap, it's very complicated, kumbaga man.
Tricky.
Yeah.
Well, with regard to Gutez's recantation, several people have said it's not surprising that they were actually expecting it. Attorney Topacio said it's not surprising. Senator Ping Lacson also said it's not surprising. Parang people were expecting it. But as you said, it casts doubts. So, I mean, is it really that not unsurprising? I mean...
Well, actually, dapat yung mga tao nagsabi that they were surprised or they were not surprised at all with the recantation of Mr. Gutesa. They should have told us the reason. Bakit kaya? They might know something that the public doesn't know. O ano ba to? Is that because they suspect that the former speaker is behind this? Or is it because they know that what Gutesa stated in his testimony before in his affidavit is not true? And then eventually, he would recant. So, ang hirap, kumbaga man, they should have provided the reason kung bakit tingin nila magre-recant din yan eventually.
Pero, sir, do you think that there was ever any credence to the testimony of Orly Gutesa? Kasi when they had the Blue Ribbon Committee hearings, siya lang talagang nag-implicate kasi kay former speaker. Siya yung nagsabi na nag-deliver siya ng maleta from Zaldico to the residence of Martin Romualdez. Or do you think there's also basis now to the claim na sila Senator Marcoleta and former Congressman Mike Defensor yung nag-pressure lang sa kanya na sabihin yung testimony na yun?
In the first place, kaya siguro what qualified him as a witness, o kung bakit siya, kung if ever there's truth to what he was claiming, that he was only pressured by former Congressman Defensor and Senator Marcoleta. Kasi dahil sa kanyang position, he was a former employee of former Congressman Zaldico. And siguro naisip nitong dalawang to na somehow being very close to the former congressman who is also being implicated in the flood control scandal. And we're talking about male-maleta. So usually ang mga nagbibit-bit niyan yung mga bodyguards, drivers, bodyguards, mga aides. And siguro for a long time he was the one who's doing this job. And based on this assumption alone, maaring he played a big role in terms of distributing these maletas of cash. So siguro doon naka-anchor yung kanyang importance sa witness. Pero, ang nakapagtataka nga doon is, sabihin na natin even if he was, he was pressured by these two individuals to give that statement, bakit hindi agad siya nag-recant? Diba? The timing is also suspicious.
Nawala pa siya diba?
Oo, nawala pa siya. Dapat sana, if he knew all along that his implication of si former Speaker Romualdez was not true, he should have done so right away, di ba? Nung nawala siya. So I don't know. Yun ang mahirap kasing hulaan yung mga motives.
Well, I want to move forward to another topic, yung impeachment, because sabi nga natin, ang dami natin dapat himayin ngayon na nangyari this week. What about Gina Acosta? What do you think about her testimony? Does it, parang sa tingin mo ba, yung sinabi niya na ibinigay yung confidential funds doon sa kanyang, sa security aid ni VP Sara, does it really account na talagang may direct accountability dito si VP Sara?
Well, yes. Even though it's the SDO who turned over the 125 million cash to VP Sara's security officer. Kung titingnan mo yung rules, yung policy natin, it's really the head of the agency who is responsible and accountable. Even though there were so many individuals involved, like the SDO, si SDO Acosta, and si security officer La Chica, Colonel La Chica, no. So bottom line nun, siya pa rin siya pa rin yung accountable kasi siya nag-a-approve at siya rin yung nag-uutos. Even if we look into the testimony of SDO Acosta, sinasabi niya one of the reasons why she turned over the money to Colonel La Chica was because utos ni Vice President.
As per instruction.
As per instruction of the Vice President. Kaya nga she did not bother to be stringent anymore. Kasi merong silang for an SDO to disburse these funds, merong guide yan based on the joint circular. And it seems that she was very lenient.
Yeah.
In terms of implementing what was provided in the joint circular.
Tingin mo malakas yung yung testimony niya?
Yeah, I think so. Kasi considering also that she's considered as a hostile witness. So dapat sana yung kanyang testimony would not favor the prosecution. It would instead protect the Vice President being the accused or respondent in this case. Malakas talaga yon. And hindi niya na pwedeng baguhin yun because she already provided a testimony before in the congressional hearings. Okay, mahirap na baguhin yun
With the supposed language barrier during the testimony, we've heard several people say na strategy yan. Kasi nakakaintindi naman siya, nakakasalita naman siya, and then we already saw Senator Tulfo getting frustrated at the hearing itself. Can you just get your thoughts on this? Because we're kind of seeing, tips and tricks maybe in the courtroom. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, for me, I don't think that there is a language barrier. Kasi for a long time, government official or government employee, merong number one, before you get hired in the government, there's a set of qualifications for the position that you're applying for. Siguro naman yung SDO, hindi naman basta-basta yung hina-hire nila, especially in terms of educational background. Although, hindi ko alam kung anong educational background ni SDO Acosta. But definitely, since she's a government employee, then siguro mataas naman yung standards sa pag-hire sa kanya. Second, she has been a long-time government employee. And usually, employees go to Metro Manila for seminars, conferences, to attend and participate in these things. And pag nandito ka, you don't use your local language. Even though, yung mga ka-region mo, yung mga Visayan-speaking regions, during break time, nag-uusap kayo in Visayan, language. Pero, pag nag-umpisa na yung conference, or it's either English or Filipino. Diba? So, I doubt it, kung talagang hindi talaga siya marunong. And the funny thing is that she was caught pretending na hindi siya marunong mag-Filipino. At ang nag-booking nito, si Senator Tulfo.
Yeah.
Sabi niya, mayroon ng may record na ng congressional hearing. And it seems that you were very articulate in the, in the Filipino language. So bakit ngayon parang ka, bigla
Bakit
ka
nabahan lang, bro?
I don't know.
Nawanan tayo.
Pero Prof, is it already clear that the Vice President committed an impeachable offense? Malinaw na ba na may misuse of confidential funds? Or kailangan pa tawagin ng prosecution, let's say, si Colonel Raymond Lachica, si Ramil Madriaga, yung alleged bagman, para ipakita na the funds were used to benefit the Vice President for her own gain?
Well, I think it's too early to say na that she's really culpable and that she really violated Article 1. That she's guilty of Article 1. Kasi remember that ilang palambang witnesses to insofar as Article 1 is concerned.
Six.
Pang-anim.
Pang-anim na, Prof.
Although the prosecution panel has established, has shown the culpability, somewhat based on the information, evidence, and testimonies, somewhat parang based on common sense and logic and the evidence presented, parang guilty. Oo. Pero, of course, it's not complete yet. The entire picture has not been completed yet. And we also have not heard the side of the defense. Although during the cross-examinations, parang we already have a glimpse of how they're going to defend against this accusation. Pero mas maganda kapag nakita na natin the complete picture, of course, before judging whether or not the Vice President is really guilty of Article 1.
Pero parang for you, so far, okay naman yung ginagawa ng
Yes.
ng prosecution.
Kasi lumilinaw na nagkakaroon na ng linaw. Kumbaga man, in the vernacular, malapit na sa katotohanan. Oo.
Well, I wanna ask you also, lagi namin to tinatanong sa mga nakakausap namin dito, kasi with several judges are out of the country or in jail, yung isa remains in hiding, di ba? Panahon na ba ulit para balikan natin yung usapin tungkol dun sa voting threshold?
Well, I think na-settle na nila yan Di ba that, I think at the onset of the trial, if I remembered correctly, the decision was 16 votes in order to convict.
But it can be challenged daw.
It can be. I think it depends on, of course, on our senator judges if they're going to change their decision eventually. Oo. Pero even if they don't change the threshold, if conviction is the goal of the majority, I don't know, although rumors pa lang naman ito, may mga rumors itong week na to, kung kailan bumabaha, umuulan ng malakas, na meron daw some senators in the minority na may, na posibleng lumipat. And paglipat nila, makukuha na ng majority yung 16 votes. Oo, kumaga man, pa to, it's in the works, so hindi pa sigurado.
Para lang we're all on the same page, Prof. Ito sila Senators Camille Villar, di ba? Yung mga
The
Villar
siblings.
Villar siblings.
Sila Bongo, tama ba? Kasama din ba siya kaya?
Is that a possibility?
Hindi ko narinig pangalan niya Pero ang pinaka-weird na narinig ko, sabi ko, very unlikely Di Cayetano siblings. Kasi sabi ko...
That's why ba quiet sila?
I don't know. Pero sabi ko, talaga ba? Yun ang naging reaction ko dun sa taong nag-inform sa akin. Sabi ko, si Senator Alan Peter Cayetano, siya yung leader ng opposition ng minority. And yet, alam mo yun, bigla siyang lilipat.
Pero sinabi naman niya, all of us were neutral, di ba?
Baka nga yun. Baka he's already sending a signal. I don't know. It's hard to say.
Okay, but another thing that's been, talked about this previous week are, again, renewed calls for the Vice President to appear before the impeachment court. But again, she's not required to appear. So, sino mag-a-adjust?
Tayo.
Lagi naman tayo
Tama ka, no? I don't think that even, notwithstanding the calls for her to appear, I don't think that she's really going to appear. Kasi parang ang sense ko doon, she has already made up her mind because probably she thinks that this impeachment trial is already, its decision or judgment is predetermined. Oo. Kumbaga man, ang kinakailangan na lamang ay numbers, yung 16 votes na threshold. Kaya hindi na talaga siya nagpa-participate dito. And I don't think that she's going to show up in any of these hearings. Oo. Unless, of course, merong sobrang malapit sa kanya na kaya there's a circumstance that would really necessitate her attendance.
But also, the question of whether she will or won't is different from should she.
Should she? Well, I
Yes.
think this is just my personal opinion. I think she should appear. Oo. And it's not for a certain legal reason, but rather for a political reason. Kasi optics-wise, hindi siya maganda, di ba? Meron tayo kultura mga Pilipino na pag ikaw ay iniimbestigahan, ng isang tao iniimbestigahan, tapos ayaw niya mag-appear, the public perception goes this way. Parang baka guilty. Ayaw magpakita.
Ba't ayaw sagutin?
Ba't ayaw sagutin? Ayaw umattend ng mga hearings. So, just to dispel yung mga ganong klaseng beliefs, public perception, I think it's beneficial for her from the political vantage point to appear. Oo.
Sir, what about rumors of the Vice President seeking a private meeting with President Bongbong Marcos? May mga ganun tayong naririnig
Oo.
naman ngayon, di ba? Ang sabi din nila, she possibly will negotiate na magre-resign na lang siya para makatakbo pa siya sa 2028 and avoid the impeachment trial already. But do you think President Marcos and Vice President Sara Duterte can truly reconcile?
Reconcile in the sense, if we're looking at the scenario na before they broke up, hindi hindi na marirestore yung ganong
There's
klaseng
no turning
political
back.
relationship. Oo. And the administration has already moved forward. Even the Vice President has also moved forward. So siguro, if ever, kasi hindi rin naman kino-confirm ng Malacanang If there is such meeting, tahimik rin ng Malacanang, di ba? So if ever there is truth behind this rumor, isipin na lang natin, ano ba posible nilang i-negotiate?
Yeah.
On the part of the Vice President, siguro, she might demand or she might ask for the discontinuation of the impeachment trial. Tigilan natin yan. Now, ano naman ang kapalit, di ba? Ano ang hilingin naman ng palasyo? So, yun ang iniisip ko. What can she offer in this alleged negotiation?
Bato, de joke lang.
Hindi,
Ayan, may
iniisip ko baka
suggestion.
hindi na siya tumakbo. Oo, sa 2028. Kasi
Pero
yun
I don't
naman-
think that's a possibility.
yun na nga.
You've seen her going around the country and reaching out to OFWs.
Yes, and she continues to be the front runner
Yeah.
based on the survey. So, ikaw ba i-give up mo yun if you were the Vice President?
Oo. Diba? Pero ako naman, ang tanong ko sa iyo, Prof, can this impeachment trial matter to ordinary Filipinos who are more concerned about putting food on the table and keeping their homes away from, keeping away their homes from flooding? Because ngayon nakikita daw natin that there's a decline of viewership from the public about the impeachment trial. So what else can be done to make sure or to tell the people, the public, that this is a real or a genuine accountability issue?
Actually, it's hard to give an answer to that question because I think of it as a very complex issue, yung impeachment trial. Kasi on the one hand, while the impeachment trial is ongoing, tama ka, it seems that along the way, less and less people are tuning in to the impeachment hearings and more are tuning out. It's because of priorities. Tama nga, given the economic problems that we are facing. Mag-aaksaya ka pa ba ng oras manood nito? Pag nanonood ka nito, it seems that you would become unproductive. Oo. Pangalawa, there's always that lingering question. If it's an issue on accountability, gusto mo maging accountable si Vice President. And this is one of the reasons why you're impeaching her. Pero, on the other hand, yung administration naman also has a corruption issue, yung flood control scandal, which amounts, yung amounts involved are, I think, more than the amount na allegedly misspent by the Vice President. So may ganun ring issue no? So, kung i-hold mo accountable si Vice President through the impeachment, bakit di mo rin i-hold accountable yung mga allies, yung mga close allies, or even former allies of the administration? You have yung mga personalities like former Speaker Martin Romualdez, nasa na si Zaldico. Parang yung tanong nyo kanina, parang sinasadya no, na hindi mag-participate at hindi mahuli yung mga taong ito.
There are two separate incidents from this week that I kind of want to touch on with regard to public officials and private citizens. One would be, of course, the Vice President being called out for traveling, yung public funds yung gamit sa travel, so kailangan na transparency, and she said na it's a threat to her security. And then the First Lady being bashed because of her post na no heels, no makeup, ganyan-ganyan. But like, on the other side, private citizens like Pia Wurtzbach-Johnsy, nag-post siya ng vacation picture with her husband and people bashed her also. So, I mean, with regard to the difference between public officials and private citizens, what's your take on this?
Well, I think even though you showed us the distinction, you mentioned the distinction between these two sets of individuals. The common thing between them is that both are public figures. Yung mga public officials at saka si Pia Wurtzbach, even though she's a private individual, pero public figure pa rin siya. Ngayon, ano bang issue ng mga tao doon? Dapat walang issue kay Pia Wurtzbach kasi pera naman niya yun eh. Kung meron man magkaka-issue, although hindi naman pwede natin sabihin na corruption yun, corruption related, pero yung bang insensitivity.
Yes, I think the issue with Pia was she posted during the flooding.
Flooding, that's right. Actually, it's not the first time that the public reacted against these kinds of posts. Maraming beses na, no? Bagyo, kung ano man yung mga pinagdadaanan natin na mahihirap na panahon. Whenever mayroong public figure na magpo-post, kino-call out siya. So I think this is just another incident or incidents of the same kind of thing.
All right. Well, we wish we had more time to dissect all the political developments. Next week na lang po
Balik
ulit.
ka na.
Thank you very much for joining us this morning. That was political analyst Professor Dennis Coronacion. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Dito na Saan ka punta, sir?
Holiday kasi ngayon. Okay, but please don't go away because we still have more matters to discuss after this quick break. Keep it here on One News.
Good morning. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News.
Former Congressman Mikey Romero vowed to continue rendering public service despite his retirement from the Armed Forces of the Philippines Reserve Force. And for more updates, we have mobile journalist Jazz Paredes reporting. Jazz, what can you tell us?
Yes, Pauline, nagbitiw na nga bilang reservist o AFP Reserve Force ito nga si dating Congressman na Mikey Romero at siya naman ay nirelieve na sa kanyang pwesto bilang Wing Commander ng Tactical Operations Wing Reserve Northern Luzon. Sa inilabas na sulat ng kampo ni dating Congressman Michael Romero, nagsaad nga dito yung kanyang pagre-retiro bilang reservist at kabilang din sa kanyang pagbibitiw itong kanyang pagbibitiw bilang Wing Commander nga. Dapat sa kanyang sulat, kanyang pinasalamatan ang liderato ng AFP at ang mga tauhan na kanyang nakasama sa pagsiservisyo. Samantala sa inilabas naman na pahayag ng kanyang kampo, ipinahayag niya na sinusuportahan ni Romero ang ginagawang validation process ng Armed Forces of the Philippines. Kaugnay ngayon ng mga aligasyon na kanyang kinaharap nitong nakaraan matapos sa mag-viral yung kanilang picture ni AFP Chief of Staff General Antonio Navarrete na kung saan ay maraming netizens at mga dating militar ang nag-question ng kanyang awards at decorations na mas marami pang araw dito kay Navarrete at kaugnay nga niyan ay nagsasagawa na ng extensive review of policies at nire-review na rin ng Armed Forces of the Philippines at ng Philippine Air Force ang kanilang current records patungkol dito nga sa mga natanggap na records ni Romero. Bukod dyan ay kinumpirma din ng Philippine Air Force na habang nga nagpapatuloy yung investigasyon, siya muna itinanggal sa kanyang pwesto at sa panayam natin with the PIF spokesperson Colonel Basco, kanya rin tayong binigyan ng onting detalye no, kung paano ba nag-work o paano ba yung proseso ng kanyang resignation. At ayon sa kanya, magkaiba ang retirement and resignation. Retirement is under 65 or age of 65 usually ang retirement, and for reservists, merong resignation, but it will be subject to applicable grounds, requirements, and approval. At dadaan ito sa prescribed administrative process sa appropriate channels ng Reserve Command, AFP General Headquarters, Department of National Defense, bago ito itaas sa Office of the President for the approval. Sa ngayon, ilan din sa detalyeng binigay sa atin ni Colonel Basco ay ang mga reservists na gaya ni Romero ay wala daw natatanggap na mga regular salary or standard benefits. Pauline.
Just sinabi ni Mikey Romero na hindi naman daw Gold Cross medal yung kanyang suot, kundi isang gawad sa kapayapaan na badge. Pero so na-confirm na ba ng AFP kung ano ba talaga yung suot niya noon at ano yung kanilang naging tugon?
Sa ngayon, Pauline, hindi pa tayo binibigyan ng tugon ng Philippine Air Force at ng Armed Forces of the Philippines to confirm kung hindi nga ba Gold Cross yung nasa uniforme ni Romero that time. Pero kung babalikan natin yung pahayag ni Romero, kanyang ang paliwanag na ito ay gawad parangal dahil dun sa kanyang paglilid doon sa makakuha ng 3 C-130 jets nung siya pa ay kongresista. Sa ngayon, isa yan sa mga iniimbestigahan ng Philippine Air Force at ayon nga sa kanila, hindi lamang itong kay Romero yung kanilang iniimbestigahan ng mga decorations, badges, and awards, but lahat ng mga iginawad nila ng mga awards sa mga lahat ng service units. Dahil ayon nga sa kanila, kung merong mali o meron nga nagkamali doon sa kanilang paggagawad, ay tiyak na meron daw mananagot. Sa ngayon, until the process of investigation is ongoing, ay hindi pa nila maisisiwalat ang mas malalim na detalye patungkol dito. Pauline.
Alright, maraming salamat para sa mga update na yan. That was mobile journalist Jazz Paredes.
In other news, hundreds of electricity theft cases have been recorded in the past 4 years, but only 21 have led to convictions. That came out during the Senate Energy Committee's hearing on system loss charges on Thursday. The ERC and BIR said that they are now working to remove VAT on system loss charges, possibly as early as September. Lawmakers also questioned whether distribution utilities are investing enough to modernize their systems.
Pero napansin po ito sa mga probinsya, lalo na sa mga island, maski na gaano kabulok yung electric cooperative, pag up for renewal na or lalo na po approaching 6 months, Diyos ko po, napakaganda, napakaliwanag. Pati mga dapat walang ilaw, may ilaw.
Sen, mukhang human nature yata yun. Pagka mayroon kang kailangan, mapapabango ka.
Kaya na sana po every year may pangangailangan. Kaya nga kung ako tatanungin mo, SP, dapat every 2 years siguro renewal ng mga lisensya na ito para gumanda.
Public Finance Specialist Zaiza Nadine Suzara said the proposed 2027 national budget leaves limited fiscal space for government programs and projects after mandatory allocations. In an interview with One News Political Beat, Suzara said around 4.4 trillion pesos of the proposed budget would go to debt servicing, the national tax allotment for local governments, and government personnel costs, leaving about 2.8 trillion pesos for other programs and projects. She warned that excessive spending on short-term aid could limit investments in long-term priorities such as education, healthcare, transportation, and other infrastructure while potentially fueling patronage politics. Suzara also raised concerns over the proposed 38 billion peso financial assistance to local government units, saying its lump sum and discretionary nature could create opportunities for pork barrel spending.
Kung pagsasama-samahin natin, 1.1 for debt servicing, 1.3 for the national tax allotment, 2 trillion for personnel services or yung salaries and wages ng government. So that's 4.4 trillion pesos. Meaning, ang fiscal space lang talaga that you can allocate for the different programs and projects of government is only 2.8 trillion pesos. Actually, yung budget natin pataas siya ng pataas taon-taon. At mahalaga yung yung trend na yon. Kasi kaya mo tinataas yung budget para makapag-invest sa productive capacity ng bansa. Kasi ang goal ng pagkakaroon ng budget, magkaroon ng development mag-stimulate ng growth sa ekonomiya. Kaya lang, kung ikukumpara natin yung trend na pataas ng pataas yung national budget natin, ang nakikita naman natin the last few quarters, pababa ng pababa yung ekonomiya.
Stay tuned. Morning Matters returns after a quick break. Good morning. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. The combined effects of tropical cyclones Luis and Maymay and the southwest monsoon have left 29 people dead, 19 injured, and 3 missing. Benguet recorded the highest number of fatalities at 15, mostly due to landslides. More than 1.8 million families, or around 6.5 million people across 11 regions, were affected by the weather disturbances. Government assistance provided so far is valued at around 95.8 million pesos.
Whenever floods occur or severe disasters strike, Filipino resilience is always highlighted. But where do we draw the line so that Filipinos do not end up being taken advantage of? And joining us now is Mark Angelo Sanchez, Senior Lecturer at the University of the Philippines Department of Sociology. Good morning, sir, and welcome to Morning Matters.
Hi, magandang umaga sa inyong lahat at salamat sa pag-imbita sa akin para i-discuss ang napaka-importanting topic na ito sa Morning Matters.
Napaka-importante talaga, sir, no? Kasi it's that time of the year na naman na pinag-uusapan natin tong Filipino resilience. Alam mo, sir, itong word na resilience, actually maganda dapat yung definition yan, di ba? It's supposed to mean na we are adaptable, we are persevering. Pero dito sa Pilipinas, parang naro-romanticize siya. It becomes an excuse for government officials to be incompetent. Pero let me start off first, sir, na bakit nga ba nagiging reflex nating mga Pilipino na kapag may sakuna, ngumingiti pa rin po tayo?
I will support your first statement about the definition of resiliency kasi parang misnomer na nga siya talaga ngayon na wala nang value yung term ng resilience. Kasi resiliency means the ability of a community or individual or a group of people to bounce back from big changes or mga disasters or hazards. Pero makikita naman natin sa communities natin that they don't become stronger after that. Nakikita natin na maraming pamilya na wala ng tahanan, wala ng buhay, and it's no longer resiliency. And makikita natin na yung reflex or yung basic instinct ng mga Filipinos about laughing about this or smiling about this disaster or after the disasters, even during disasters, nakikita natin sa social media, is a product of conditioning na sobrang sanay na sila sa mga ganitong klaseng sitwasyon. And the only way to cope with these disasters is yung pag-smile na lang. And it's a difference na masaya talaga sila na wala na silang choice kundi maging masaya dahil ay na lang yung option nila. So it's a very, I think, di na dapat term ang resilience dyan. I think it's exploitation na talaga ng ating government structures, ability of Filipinos to quote-unquote adapt sa mga ganitong klaseng situations.
Oo. So parang ang nangyari po ba dito, sir, ay dahil nga masayahin, nag-a-adapt talaga ang mga Pilipino, ginawa po itong excuse ng mga politicians, sa mga government officials natin not to do their jobs. Tama po ba yun?
I think the government is doing their jobs naman. I'm not going to exclude their efforts naman to somehow fix these issues. But makikita natin na it's below the bare minimum of what they're going to do, what they're supposed to do sa mga communities nito. Makikita natin ang first basic response ng ating government is very reactionary. Ano pinakamaganda example niyan? Puro ayuda. Tapos gagawa sila ng mga, for example, yung existing corruption scandal na flood control, gagamitin nila 2022, 2023, pinagmalaki yan ng government. Then, nung bumaha, na lumabas yung issue ng flood control, which is another dictionary response. Hindi natin nakikita yung mga proactive or mga preventive measures in trying to solve these issues. And kung gagamit tayo ng theory, makikita natin na it's a part of it's really part of a structure na kung saan nagbe-benefit yung mga politicians because when they give ayuda, merong sense of utang na loob yung mga Filipino sa mga local politicians. Pag nakikita nila sila yung nagbibigay, even though public funds yung nagbibigay sa kanila ng mga ganitong klaseng quote-unquote mga ayuda. So, nasan yung mga preventive preventive measures. For example, dito sa apartment ko, 2 days ako na stranded dahil sa baha. I live in Pasig. So, I think last year din naman bumabaha ng ganito dito, but ngayon bumaha na. So, there's structural issues when it comes to these problems. At ang pinaka-primary response lagi is ayuda. Even though kailangan ng mga communities, ay huwag na, hindi na bumaha o bawasan yung pagbabaha.
Sir, also when it comes to yun na nga, yung baha, yung mga nangyayaring flood control issues, we also need to make the distinction. How much of it is the government and how much of it is us? So in the line of thinking of, regular Filipino citizens, ano yung mga kailangan natin pagmasdan? Ano yung kailangan natin gawin as compared to what the government also needs to do?
Okay. That's actually a very good question. And sa mga students ko lagi ito yung pinopoint out. Kung natin, mayroon namang ability ang mga Filipinos or tao in general to distinguish what is a public issue at sa mga personal troubles natin. As a sociology, tinatawag namin dyan is yung sociological imagination. Now, para ma-differentiate natin yan, maganda makita ng mga Filipinos that there are certain issues na labas sa control nila. For example, ang pagbabaha. Matatawag natin public personal trouble lang yun pag ikaw lang ang bumaha. But when we see communities, a lot of cities are being flooded na, then there are existing structural issues para sa pagbabaha na ito. Kasi sabihin natin may personal responsibility naman talaga yung mga Filipinos, for example, sa pagtatapon ng kanilang basura. And I agree, merong personal responsibility. But meron ba tayong maayos sa dump site? Meron ang LGU pa may maayos na mga waste management system? For example, meron tayong isang LGU na na-issue na yung basura nila, tinapon nila sa isang ancestral domain ng mga AITA. So makikita mo, meron ba tayong mga existing structures for people, ay may induce ang mga people to actually throw their garbage sa mga tamang basurahan. Makikita natin, karamihan ng mga garbage system dito, tinatapon lang sa kalsada, then may dadating ng mga workers para yung mga basura itapon sa isang lugar. Hindi naman natin alam kung saan napupunta. Ang magandang example nga dyan is yung tingi culture ng when it comes sa consumerism natin. Bakit dito sa Pilipinas ay usong-uso yung mga tingi? Puro plastic yan, puro plastic. Kasi walang capacity yung mga Filipinos to buy in bulk. Kaya puro tingi, puro sachet, puro mga ganyan. Kasi ayun yung capacity ng karamihan ng mga Filipinos para sa kanilang everyday na buhay. So, sa amin kasi for example, sociology, isang mga primary framework yan is yung structures, shapes, behavior. Kasi for example, meron tayong mga Filipinos sa pumunta ng ibang bansa as tourists, hindi sila nagtatapon ng basura sa mga kalye dun. Kasi strict ang enforcement nila sa kanilang mga waste policies. Dito sa Pilipinas, na-structure na yung behavior na kung saan, dahil wala namang maayos na basurahan dyan, marami talagang mga field. Di ko naman dyan-justify, but makikita natin yung logic na kung saan may mga tao talaga na kung saan na tinatapon yung basura nila. So it's still a structural issue and not a personal trouble na dapat lang tignan. Kasi there are issues na kung saan nabiyan na ng control ng mga individuals.
Structures, shape, behavior. So, kung gusto po natin i-address yung ganito kalaking problema, where should it start? Kasi, sir, di ba tama rin na meron naman din po tayong accountability din sa ating part, na gawin din natin yung responsibility natin, na hindi pwedeng puro iasa lang natin sa gobyerno, huwag din tayo puro kasalanan nila, pero nagtatapon pa rin tayo kung saan-saan, di ba? Yung pag-consume din natin, hindi na rin siya makapag-cope dun sa capacity ng gobyerno to have proper waste management?
Well, when it comes sa idea ng, ang pinakamagandang kasi dito is asking for accountability talaga. We have many Filipinos suffering dahil specific month ng rainy season talaga expected ng mga Filipinos ng babaha. Pero may certain underlying issue na kung saan na parang hindi nag-ask for accountability kasi nabuo yung framework na kung saan wag dapat umasa lagi sa government, but we pay our taxes. We shouldn't expect na umasa sa gobyerno, but rather the government should be doing their job in the first place. Kasi what's the point of people paying their taxes? What's the point of people giving their financial dues sa ating government kung di naman talaga nila effectively nagagamit ito? So makikita natin na tama naman yung idea na wag umasa sa government, pero there should be a limit sa ganong klaseng idea. Kasi hindi pa ba dapat, hindi naman umasa, but di ba dapat mag-expect tayo sa government natin na gumawa ng mga certain policies na matanggal ang mga problema na, for example, pagbabaha. Kasi it's somewhat illogical pag-iisipin natin. alam mong Filipino, pag alam mong may experience sa baha at alam ng mga politicians na laging bahain sa Pilipinas. So, at given point in time, dapat na-realize na nila na ay dapat isolve natin ang baha eh. Pero bakit hindi nangyayari yung ganitong klaseng solutions?
But sir, it's good that you pointed that out, because somehow Filipinos have accepted our fate na every year binabaha na tayo.
Yes.
'Di ba? Parang it rains, the communities flood, and then we demand answers and politicians will, tell us or promise us solutions, and then the next storm arrives, we face the same problem again.
Yes.
So, how do we break this vicious cycle? Or can we break this vicious cycle through voting or through how we vote?
Ayun, magandang question yan kasi papasok na tayo sa idea na what should be done, di ba? What should be done? Ito na ba talaga ang fate ng Filipino sa tanggapin na lang ang bawat baha sa Metro Manila or sa kung anong part ng bansa? Of course, hindi. At makikita naman natin na may strong movement for that. Kasi even the power to vote ay shape yan ng mga structures natin. So, ano na dapat gawin? Education. And of course, yung education na isa, in a sense na hindi naging condescending, but rather make them realize that their vote counts sa pagbabago ng ating lipunan at mga polisiya. Kasi we're living in an age of social media na sobrang frame na ng mga information, especially sa issue ng misinformation from certain sources, di ba? So, kailangan talaga merong holistic and ground approach for advocates and even academics and teachers na dapat yung vote, hindi lang siya simpleng dahil gusto mo ang politiko or political revenge, yung mga ganyang klase, but bumoto ka not based on the politician's name, but to vote based on their policies. Kasi we need to look beyond the personality politics na dahil dating artista to, dahil ito yung apelido niya. Walang value ang apelido kung yung mga policies naman nila ay the same lang. Kung parehas lang, wala naman nagbabago. So we need to go beyond personality politics or identity politics in terms of anong name ng politik yan. But we need to vote based on our own material experiences sa mga issue na to. Kung merong politiko na aware sa mga ganitong klaseng problema at nagbibigay sila ng isang actual policy to resolve it, then those politicians and leaders are ang kailangan nating suportahan.
So parang we are expecting every voting season we are expecting different result pero we keep on voting the same people. Kumbaga yung ano ba yung kasabihan na yun, Prof, yung insanity, we keep on expecting different results pero we keep on doing the same thing.
Yeah, yun yung definition ng insanity according kay Einstein, or di ko sure kung sino nung quote yun, but repeating the same patterns, expecting different results. Ayun yung ayoko banggitin yung term, but insanity siya to some extent. Pero dapat maintindihan kasi natin yung logic ng Filipino voters eh. Kasi maintindihan natin na maraming on the ground, for example, there are a lot of Filipino voters ang tumatanggap, for example, ng vote buying. Kasi it's kung di sila tumanggap doon at natalo yung politiko na sinusuportahan nila, malaki ang chance na hindi sila bibigyan ng support pag may crisis. And that's a lot of yan ng mga proseso when it comes sa mga, for example, sa mga local levels of politicking. Na pag di mo binoto to, tatalo ka, madidelay ka sa ayuda, hindi ka mabibigyan ng mga support. So, it's a very strong structure for people to vote for the same politicians. At meron pang for example, may isa ako na interview yung sinabi niya, mas okay nang binoto ko yung existing na politiko, hindi ko na babanggitin kung sino, kasi at least kung magnanakaw to, binibigyan kami ng suporta. Sa bago, di kami sure.
Nako.
So, kita natin na
may mindset na gano'n.
Well, sir, picking up off of Angela's question, na yes, people can choose when they vote during election years, but that's 3 years, 6 years. By the time that the next election comes around, the damage has already been done.
Yeah.
There are people who can pretty much never recover from the kind of losses that they've sustained through incompetence and corruption. So before the elections, in between election years, how can people demand for accountability? What is the most efficient way?
Well, in terms of question of efficiency, wala nang mas malakas pa ngayon na to voice your opinions and advocacy sa social media. And makikita natin yun na pag nag-trend ng isang issue, ang bilis mag-responde, for example, ng DSWD pag may nalit sa pila or pag merong nagkaroon ng fatality habang pumipila, biglang pupunta yung government official, sasabihin na tulungan. Pero makikita naman natin na wala naman silang binago sa policy, nagpa-picture lang, tapos sasabihin na tinulungan. Pero in terms of policy, wala rin naman nagbabago, or at least wala tayong nakikitang pagbabago. So in terms of demanding accountability, ang pinaka-efficient talaga dyan is social media. Pero when it comes sa on-ground approach, walang mas makakatalo pa sa impact when it comes to face-to-face advocacies or even protesting sa streets. Kaya ako, sinusuportan ko lahat ng all manners of protest for accountability. Of course, may existing issues dyan ng politiking, kulay-kulay na ganyan. Pero dapat tignan natin yung mga protest on their policies talaga, kung anong dinedemand nila, be it for higher wages, be it for flood control scandal, and we need to keep voicing this out. So in terms of efficiency, social media yan. Pero in terms of impact, talagang on-ground protest ang mas makakapag-pressure sa mga politiko. And it's part of our democracy eh. Kaya nga nasa karapatan ang mag-protest, mag-rally, ganyan. Kasi doon makikita ng mga tao or mga leaders natin na merong taong apektado sa mga polisiya nila.
And sir, it seems the generation leading this charge, this demand for accountability is actually the younger generation, yung mga Gen Zs, as sinasabi natin, masyado silang woke. But maybe that's a good thing, because they're very in tune with our reality. So, bakit nga ba po ganun, sir, parang yung kabataan pa yung mas aware, yung mas nagde-demand ng accountability from our government?
Well, babalik tayo dyan sa pinakapaboritong kasabihan sa Pilipinas, isa sa mga paborito, di ba? Ang kabataan, ang pag-asa ng bayan. And it's an effect talaga eh, dahil yung kabataan na sa age of social media, nakikita nila yung mga issues na ito everyday at frequency, nababasa nila everyday na bakit pare-parehas ng issue. Nakakondition sa kanila yung, yes, we have to do something. We have to act on this issue na talagang di ko naman sinasabi walang ginagawa yung older generation. Of course, meron. Pero makikita natin na yung peak talaga ng activism ngayon is within the youth. And hindi naman bago yan sa generation natin eh. Even back then, yung mga past generations na yun, especially during the martial law, ang youth ang mga nangunguna ng mga lumalaban sa mga dictators, even sa mga even sila Rizal, yung mga bayani natin, mga bata sila eh. They're around 20s, they're around their early 20s when they're at the peak of their revolution, mga ganyan. So, makikita natin na dahil yung every generation talaga, pag may nakikita silang problema, they're the ones who is always speaking about it, especially sa mga, for example, every protest makikita mo puro bata, and makikita natin na merong certain effort talaga para i-criminalize yung activism kung saan-saan sila tinatag na terorista o ganyan rebelde. And it's an effort of the government or mga structures to silence these people. Pero makikita natin na there is a strong call for this. Kasi sabihin natin na sabihin natin na magugulo talaga yung mga tao na yan. Magugulo yung mga aktivista na yan. Let's say for the sake of their argument, totoo yung mga sinasabi nila. Pero in terms of ang call nila, in terms of kung ano ang pinaglaban nila, in terms kung ano yung mga advocacies nila, hindi ba't pag tinanggal natin yung kulay, tinanggal natin yung tagging sa kanila, they're calling for a better society, higher wages, tanggalin yung flood control scandal, maayos accessibility sa healthcare, environmental preservation. Pag tatanggalin natin yung kulay dyan, they're advocating for a better future. Diba? So, we should be more supportive kasi if the relatively older generation won't do it, then at least they should speak up and support these people, and they shouldn't invalidate their struggle and their efforts just because they're young.
All right, thank you so much for your time and insights, Mark Angelo Sanchez, Senior Lecturer at the University of the Philippines, Department of Sociology.
Thank you.
Thank you po. Thank you.
Okay, now don't go away because Morning Matters will be back after this short break. Stay tuned.
Good morning. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News.
All right, now that's it for today's news. But before we go, we're going to talk about our key takeaways. And I wanted to ask this to Angela because she's a teacher, she's an educator. Pero napapansin mo ba sa students mo na, ay, napakaganda kasing profesora nito
Hinotseat ako. Joke lang. Ano yan?
Napapansin mo ba sa students mo na parang mas ano nga sila?
Yeah, they're very
Vocal.
opinionated, very vocal ang mga youngsters. And you have to remember, these younger generation also have put yung mga politicians in power this last election.
Correct.
Like sila, Senator Kiko Pangilinan, Senator Bam Aquino. So talagang yung ano sila, very opinionated. And even in class, kapag tinanong mo sila about current events, they're very into it. Alam nila, updated sila doon sa nangyayari dito. And ganyan sila, medyo allergic din sila sa resilience na word. Pero like kung sinasabi sa kanila yan, it's not a bad word actually. It's a good word. Ang ganda nga yan sa Tagalog, katatagan, di ba? To be able to come out strong, 'di ba, and ready for everything. Pero ang dapat sabihin natin dito, hindi masama yung salita na 'yon, but ang pag-usapan natin dito is yung papaano natin kakalampagin yung gobyerno para gawin nila ng maayos yung trabaho nila. And as well as yung na-point out mo rin kanina, doing our own share of responsibility.
Yun na nga. Like the past few years, diba, we've seen people who are already very allergic to the word resilience.
I think you're very allergic
I'm very allergic to it. Honestly, like I really pay attention to who calls Filipinos resilient, especially with government officials. Na parang, teka lang, like, it's either you're using it as a cover-up for inefficiency, incompetence, or corruption. But as Angela pointed out, resilience is a very good thing. But also, why are we resilient? How did we become resilient? What pushed us to become resilient? I'm gonna tie this into when people tell me, you're so strong, cancer survivors. Because we had no choice. It's the same thing
What else can we do, di ba?
Diba? Like, alam ka namang bumigay lang ako. It's the same thing for Filipinos going through, flooding every year. It's because they have no choice. They have to survive.
Sabi nga ni Professor, di ba, tama na yung resilience, it's exploitation. It's exploitation at the end of the day. So, it's a wake-up call, but we're now heading into the weekend. Hopefully, all of you are staying safe and dry. We're gonna have good weather conditions from today until tomorrow, pero baka by Sunday, mag-uulan po ulit.
And then sa younger generation, today is holiday, pero let us not forget also why it is holiday today. It is the commemoration of the assassination of late Senator Ninoy Aquino, who is, who was the primary face of the opposition against the dictatorship of Ferdinand Marcos Sr. All right, weekend! Hello, Friday!
Happy Friday!
That wraps up today's episode of Morning Matters. I'm Angela Lagunzad-Castro.
We hope we've given you just the right start to your morning. Our floor director, Marie, is already dancing with joy. I'm Cesca Litton-Kalaw.
Let's make the day matter. I'm Pauline Verzosa, and we'll see you again on Monday.
Mind you, we love our jobs, but I need to rest as well. Kapatid, we are on you.
Your side?
All the time.